This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on Quad Talks and its significance. The participants are Ashok Sajjanhar, former diplomat, and Simran Sodhi, journalist.
Today we are discussing the first virtual summit of the Quad leaders of India, the United States, Australia and Japan, which took place last evening. We also hope that all the four countries came together and committed to a Quad vaccine initiative, among other things, and also urged the world towards an international order which is based on rules and laws. Ambassador Sajjanhar, first, how do you see this Quad meeting? It's a virtual summit, but we had all the four leaders getting together discussing climate change, the corona pandemic, the situation in the South China Sea. How do you see this Quad meet initially?
Well, you're very right, Simran, when you say that it was a virtual summit. But I don't think that in any way brings down the significance and importance of this meet. I think it's a historic step because the Quad was revived. It was set in motion in 2007 when the first senior officials meeting took place. But then it went into slumber for 10 years because China had raised some concerns that this might be a coalition in making against China. So in 2017, it was revived and three ministerial meetings took place. The first one in September 2019 on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York. And after that, two more meetings. But it is remarkable that in such a short time, this summit has taken place. It is, of course, a natural progression. But within less than 2 months of Biden coming to power and the summit taking place, I think it is huge. Its symbolic significance, its strategic significance is immense. In addition to that, what I would say also is that in all the earlier meetings, whether at the senior official level or at the level of the ministers, there was no joint statement that was issued because at that time, all the four countries came out with their own readouts. Of course, there were many overlaps, many similarities in the readouts, but they could not come out with a joint statement which led people and analysts and commentators to say that maybe there are some unbridgeable differences in perception between these four countries. But now the four leaders have come out with a joint statement, a very comprehensive, forward-looking, progressive joint statement. So I think that is, again, both in symbolism as well as in substantive and concrete terms, it is extremely significant. The third is that the leaders said that they will be having an in-person meeting in the rest of the year. Either it will be organized in the United States or any of the other three countries, or these four leaders will meet on the sidelines of a global summit that might be taking place. So the first such opportunity that I can see could be on the sidelines of the G7 meeting that takes place in Cornwall in United Kingdom in June 2021. So I think for all these reasons, it is extremely significant in substantive and concrete terms also. This summit, the deliberations and the decisions are very far-reaching. Just to mention one particular aspect, all the countries in the opening statements, all the leaders spoke about a free and open Indo-Pacific. What this really implies is that China, which has been flexing its muscles for the last several years in the South China Sea, in East China Sea, the manner in which it has been threatening the littoral states and not allowing these countries to use their privileges that accrue to them under the exclusive economic zone, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, and also threatening Japanese vessels in the East China Sea. So I think all of this has been sought to be captured in the statement that these countries want a free and open Indo-Pacific, a rule-based order, an inclusive Indo-Pacific which is secure and prosperous. So I think for a variety of reasons, this summit has the potential of changing the geopolitical and geostrategic architecture in this region and having an impact on the world.
Ambassador Sajjanhar, we also see that this is the first meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Joe Biden. After Biden took over as President of the US, we saw a warm exchange between the two of them. And the PM pointed out that it is the democratic values which is binding the members of the Quad together. As you mentioned about China and China's aggressive behavior and how the world is concerned about it, and we've also seen that in the Chinese state media, the reactions to the Quad meet, as expected, have been quite negative. Do you feel that China realizes there is genuine concern among other world leaders and nations about its behavior? And do you feel that then the Quad has a role to play in maybe making China realize that its aggressive behavior will not go unchecked, and there are nation states that will get together which will step up and try to push China back to a position which respects international law?
It is the first time that President Joe Biden and Prime Minister Modi had an sort of face-to-face, although virtual exchange with each other. Of course, both the leaders have spoken twice in recent months, immediately when the results came out of the US presidential election, and then President Biden, at that time President-elect Joe Biden, had spoken to Prime Minister Modi on the 17th of November. And then subsequently, after the inauguration of President Joe Biden on 20th January, the two leaders again spoke on 8th February. But you're right, this is the first time that both the leaders are interacting. But of course, their association and their relationship goes back a long way. You would recall that when Prime Minister Modi had visited the United States in September 2014, his first visit, and at that time on the 29th of September, if my memory serves me correctly, a lunch was hosted by, at that time, Vice President Joe Biden and Senator John Kerry at the State Department, in which there was a drop-in by the then President Barack Obama. Also, in his capacity as chairman of the Senate, Vice President Joe Biden had chaired the meeting of the joint session of the Congress in Washington, D.C. that Prime Minister Modi had addressed in June 2016, which was his last farewell call during the term of President Barack Obama. And you would recall that at that time he had mentioned, speaking about the relations between India and the United States, he had spoken that, he had said that India has overcome the hesitations of history as far as its relations with the United States are concerned. Now, coming to the second part that you have mentioned about the aggressive behavior of China as far as the Indo-Pacific is concerned, as far as the Western Pacific region is concerned, and of course even against India in the eastern part of Ladakh. I'm sure the message has gone very clearly, very strongly. You would recall that when the first aspect, the initiative of Indo-Pacific was revived, and also of the Quad revived in Manila in November 2017, then Wang Yi, the foreign minister of China, had said that Quad is like sea foam. It's like bubbles on the surface of the sea which will dissipate because of the internal contradictions between these countries. But now I think it has come to realize that these countries are serious, these countries mean business. And I think what is particularly noteworthy here is that what China might have thought that after Mr. Trump goes, that Mr. Biden will be a little softer, a little more manageable. But unfortunately, that has not happened. And also that Biden has determined that he will travel along with the allies, travel along with partners to push back against China. And that is going to be a much bigger force, a much greater force than if either America or any other country individually would have pushed back against China. And that is why you see this nervousness, you see this huge concern and anxiety of China, which is reflected in several of the newspaper reports and articles in official mouthpieces like Global Times, speaking in rather derogatory terms as far as the Quad summit meeting is concerned.
Master Sajanar, another important thing that has emerged out of the Quad meeting, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has tweeted about it. He has tweeted that united in our fight against COVID-19, we launched a landmark Quad partnership to ensure accessibility of safe COVID-19 vaccines. India's formidable vaccine production capacity will be expanded with support from Japan, US and Australia to assist countries in the Indo-Pacific region. How do you see this tying up with the overall initiatives that India has taken and what is being referred to as the vaccine Maitri and India's production capacity of the vaccine which India is providing to nations as far as Brazil? And we also see that this has emerged as one of the landmark outcomes of the Quad. How does it strengthen Quad and how does it strengthen India's position in the Quad and in the world?
I think this is a very significant initiative. First of all, this initiative recognizes India's leadership in the manufacturing of vaccines and providing vaccines to the world. Even before COVID-19, India has been providing more than 65% of the global vaccines that are produced, manufactured, and shipped around the world. So I think it is but natural that India comes to the leadership position as far as the COVID-19 vaccines are concerned. Through the Vaccine Maitri initiative, India has supplied to more than 70 countries. While in many developed and prosperous countries, we can see these aspects of vaccine nationalism, India has gone out of its way to supply vaccines either as grants or through the WHO initiatives like COVAX or like Gavi or some other similar initiatives so that vaccines at affordable prices can be made available to countries which are not in a very sound financial or otherwise position to get them. So India has, and this has been commented upon by large number of global leaders, of world leaders, including the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, including the Director General of WHO, and of course world leaders like the Brazilian President, the Bhutanese Prime Minister, Sri Lankan Prime Minister. So I think India has, like Prime Minister Modi had said earlier while he was speaking at the 75th anniversary of the United Nations, that India's capacity and capability in manufacturing medicines and vaccines will be used to the benefit and advantage not only of India but of whole humanity and whole mankind. So this is what has given India the leadership role in producing vaccines. So the strengths of all these Quad member countries will be put together, financial, logistical and innovative, and it has been decided that about 1 billion vaccines will be produced by the end of 2022 and they will be shipped out to needy countries in the Indo-Pacific, in Southeast Asia and other countries. So I think this provides a further leadership position as far as India is concerned.
Ambassador Sarjanhar, we also saw that the US President said that the Quad would be a vital arena for cooperation and a free and open Indo-Pacific region was essential to all of their futures. We've also seen that the Japanese Prime Minister also talked with Prime Minister Modi a while back, and both leaders discussed especially China's activities in the region. Do you feel that US, India, Japan, Australia, the Quad getting together is a new security framework which is coming into shape for the region and globally also?
All the four countries, they don't want to limit this only to a security architecture. They want to send out a very positive message that Quad stands for the global good. It stands for common good of all countries in the Indo-Pacific and beyond.
And in the coming days, we will continue our discussions on the Quad and on the relationship between the Quad members. With this, we bring today's discussion to an end. Thank you.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on Quad Talks and its significance. The participants were Ashok Sajjanhar, former diplomat, and Simran Sodhi, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our website, newsonair.com. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsttalks@gmail.com.